So we haven't made a video for a while, so I thought I would create a video to show the kind of latest updates of the game. So you can see the graphics style has changed somewhat, like we've progressed quite far with the overall look of the environment. So you can see we've had a camera change as well. This is by no means fixed, but it's just something we're trying out. Now whenever you're doing any kind of game development, the things will kind of change all the time. You can have your basic idea, but in terms of the actual game's design, the smallest little change to something like the camera can make a massive difference. And certainly with regard to our game, that's certainly the case. So you can see if I come up here, I've got a enemy character here will then start to chase me. So obviously if the camera's, depending how far the camera is out of the view, depends how much time you have to actually kind of react to the enemies. I can't remember if this was in the last video, but we now also have a stamina button so you can run. You can see some untextured kind of elements here. So yeah, there's still a reasonable amount of repetition in the environment, so this will just be a matter of adding in more props and making sure that there's kind of less repetition for each one. So you can see here one of the enemies has been killed. So let's just restart this, and I can show you something else we've incorporated here. Now if I just pause the game here and we'll just find our entrance area. Here's our character. If we start with, let's have a look at the character as well. At the moment we just have kind of real basic kind of box characters in here. So the reason for that is because we're just testing out kind of different sizes and stuff like that. Like we know that we want to have kind of large shoulder pads, kind of chunky helmet and a chunky backpack. So in terms of the white box for the character, we have put that in, but we haven't established a colour palette or anything like that, but we are getting the rough size right. Obviously the size of the character makes a big difference to the game, because this all depends on, you know, how far you can dodge to the left and to the right. So another new thing you can see we've incorporated is this kind of portal here. So before you just started at the entrance of the dungeon, but we wanted to have it so that you came in through a kind of portal, and that means we could have like a lobby area, and we can really go crazy with the design of that. It could be in like a village, or it could, you know, something smaller like a bar, or even like a large town or whatever. So you know, and it kind of makes sense that you can just go through these portals and appear in kind of different mine areas. Just to have a look at the enemy, there's one here. You can see he follows a similar thing. We know we want him to be like one of the enemies that's going to be in the Kickstarter demo to be a kind of large kind of ogre type creature. So these will cause you a lot of damage, but aren't as quick as the kind of smaller goblin characters. So we've only got him in there, and you can see the rough proportions of him, but again, we don't really have anything defined for him, just a kind of rough design. Okay, so actually I'll just pause the game again and just zoom out here. So we can see a different layout here, and you can see we've advanced the rooms a little bit further. So over here we have a kind of stone circle room with various kind of different assets. Some of these aren't finished yet, of course, but the kind of rough template is there. So obviously there's going to be, we're aiming initially for around kind of 100 bespoke rooms. So we've got one here which is literally the first room we're making, which is like a stone circle room. But they're going to be a lot more kind of interesting than that as well, so it's quite a generic one. The other one that spawned is a real kind of rough template for a kind of graveyard room as well, but this one needs a lot more kind of development than our one over here. If I go to the rooms tab, I can actually have a look at the model here. So you can see another kind of room here which isn't as finished as this one. There's no kind of texture work on it or anything. You can see we've got a kind of dragon skeleton in here, and other elements like that. Let's see if we've got any others. So this one here doesn't have anything in it yet, but this is going to be like a bar area. So there'll actually be food kind of being served at the tables and stuff like that. So there'll be things like a library, a kind of church a church interior. Kind of very kind of random is the idea. There'll probably be like a casino room, a games arcade, this kind of thing going on. So this is another thing to mention here. If we just pause this yet again, and we'll just come down here. So we see now we've got like these kind of fruits growing here, and if we look at some of these other ones, you'll see we've got these kind of glowworms as well. Now the idea of these is to kind of use as different lures for the enemy. So if I just unpause this, you can see at the moment I do have a key. Although, there you go, that's the one. So you can see at the moment this is just a kind of green sphere, and it gradually kind of fades out. I can only place one at a time, but the idea of these is to kind of lure the enemy away from you. So if I get this guy, you can see he's facing away, so he hasn't seen me yet. So that's another kind of element we're looking into. But if I come around here, he's heard me, and now he's going to come for me. Hopefully, I think he's going to get caught in that trap, and we're okay. So I'll place a lure down, and you can see now he actually stops by that lure, and you can get away from him. And obviously, once he takes priority for the lure actually. So the idea is that these creatures are going to be obsessed with these glowworms, and some of them will be obsessed with these kind of pumpkins, and they'll be a lot rarer than they are at the moment. They're spawning everywhere just for kind of testing purposes. So let's see if we can get a couple of guys on us here. So you can see the pathfinding isn't quite right yet, but you can see now I'm getting a couple after me. And the idea here as well is, at the moment we only have a couple of guys, but at some point you are going to be literally being chased by dozens of these characters. So if I place the lure down, you'll see that they both become obsessed with it. Although we do still have a few problems with the pathfinding. As I said, we've only just incorporated this AI into this. So yeah, if we look over here, this is these eyes are like the first kind of test for something going on in the void area. So you can see that's killed in there. So in this kind of void area, this kind of blackness, we're thinking of having some kind of swirly mist type effect, very kind of subtle, and some kind of eyes going on as well. So a big part of this is to make sure we have as much movement as possible in the environment. So things like the light swinging, obviously the glowworms here moving, these eyes, the mist kind of moving about. We really want to make it feel like a full environment. So I think one last little thing I've just put in today is just some other little props. So we've got some kind of different tools and things like that as well. So yeah, we're really starting to build up the number of props that we have in the game as well. In terms of the user interface here, there's not really much going on yet, but we are thinking of keeping it very simple. So just a little bit of text, nothing really kind of clogging up the screen. As you can see, I haven't really done much to the exit model yet. So yeah, there still is a kind of long way to go, but you can see we have made some kind of reasonable progress on the environment. So by the time I do my next video, I'm hoping to have a couple of rooms finished. You can see when I come into this room, some elements are finished, but you can see there's big gaps here. We've got quite a lot of, this is just using random textures, so it's not looking very good at the moment. Lots of textile density issues and things like that. These aren't textured, and there's no light. If you're going to have a light source like this, you want to make sure you have something for the actual light, so I'll probably just have a flame torch on the wall here or something like that, but you can see there's purple light from the crystals and so on, but it's something I'm not a fan of, having a light with no actual model. If we have a quick look at the size of the level here, we can see this is reasonably small. You can get to one end of the level to the other in about 30 seconds. Again, this is a major kind of element to the gameplay that we will evolve with time. So if I just restart the level, you can see there's the temporary bar scene, nothing going on at all, just the bar area. I was planning to have kind of tables all dotted around as well. And that's one thing I wanted to mention with the food actually. Sometimes you'll come into a room and it might give you different bonuses. So if you notice you're coming into a food room, all the enemies that are chasing you, which could be, you know, 12 to like 20 of them, will pile into the room and will start eating food in here. So this is like almost like a safe room. So if you get back to here, you know that you can just drop the guys off in here. Some rooms will have kind of missions to do in as well. So for instance, in this grave room, we're thinking kind of little puzzle elements, things like find the gravestone of a certain character. So, and then you can go up to each gravestone and read what's on it. Is that the only two rooms in here at the moment? Yeah, so the room we were looking at before, the big kind of stone room, the stone circle room, what we're thinking with that is you have to press on all the different kind of stones that have runes on, light up the runes, and once you do that you'll be given gifts such as, you know, different collectibles and different stuff you can wear to make your character faster and so on. So like in here you can see we've got this kind of, yes, it's treasure stand, so it's just a white box model at the moment, but if you solve the puzzle in here, then treasure will appear here that you can then collect, and that will be stuff like collectibles, and you know, it could also be little bonuses and stuff. And obviously occasionally there will be little treasure chests like this dotted around, and at the moment they do give you a speed boost, but we're planning on a lot more kind of stuff than that. So finding all these extra little treasure chests and little bonuses is a big part of this. It's really an exploring game, a running and exploring game. Probably the best way to describe it. So I think that's probably about it for now. In the next video, what I'm going to do is go into some technical details about how we do things, such as the ground plane here, the different kind of texture work and stuff like that. But now you've got more of a rough overview of where we're at with the game. Next time you'll find out more about, you know, how we've made everything as it is so far.